Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to today's episode of Talking Point. We have a very distinguished guest today with us. He is Professor Joughin, the Vice Chancellor of University of East London. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Dr.
you.
John. When did you join University of East London? I know that you became the Vice Chancellor in sometime in 2013, isn't it?
Yes, and I joined in 2010 as the Deputy Vice Chancellor. So I'm coming up for my 5th year anniversary at UEL.
Right. Is it a very old university or University of East London?
Yes, if you go back to the roots of the institution, in our Stratford campus still, you have the original building, which was West Ham Technical Institute, which was opened in 1898. They had a fire in 1899 and rebuilt it, and it was opened again in 1900. And the person who opened it christened it the People's University, and we still have that ethos as a university. And then during the 20th century, South West Technical College and South West Essex Technical College and South East Essex Technical College, and then it became embarking, and then they formed the Polytechnic, which was North East London Polytechnic, before it then became University of East London in 1992.
Right. Back in 2012, end of December and between 2013 January, you had quite a few movements at the top level, isn't it? And then you joined as the Vice Chancellor. We'll come back to that later. I would like to know something about you for the benefit of our viewers in Europe and parts of North Africa. Well, tell us something about when did the journey begin, when you joined the academic life and you went into a specialization in Shakespeare.
Yes, although it wasn't really as straightforward as that. It never really is. So I did, predominantly at school, I did science subjects. And then when I left school at 18 years of age, I worked for 5 or 6 years in London, in the City of London. And so I sort of returned to education in my mid-20s.
Right.
And I went to a local college, City of East London College, and I did an access program. And they had an arrangement with Essex University.
Are you originally from East London?
Yeah, I mean, my family very much so. My father grew up in Wapping, and my grandfather was actually a docker on the docks in Wapping. During the Second World War, they were pretty much forced to leave. They were bombed out of Wapping. So I grew up in a place called Chadwell Heath, which is
not too far from
just down the road. So when I was growing up, North East London Poly, as it was then, was my local local university. But as I say, when I returned to education in my mid-20s, then I became a mature student. And when I studied at Essex and Warwick and Essex University, and I began to specialise in English literature and especially Shakespeare.
What sort of works have you done on Shakespeare?
I mainly edited books, and my main interest has always been in philosophy and literature. So Shakespeare and philosophy, Shakespeare and national culture, because you'll understand Shakespeare has, well, every country in the world virtually has a Shakespeare association. There are often productions of Shakespeare in India, Bangladesh, and many other places, and in China and all around the world. So my interest became Shakespeare in that sort of global sense of Shakespeare's in very many different national contexts.
Yeah, great. Considering the universal appeal of Shakespeare and his philosophy and the language that he has used and the plots of the dramas, do you think that how relevant Shakespeare is in today's life in high-tech society of ours?
Yes, well, I think the interesting thing about Shakespeare is that every new media that comes along, whether it's television, film, or even now, most recently the RSC a few years ago had a production of Romeo and Juliet on Twitter. So I think there's no end to it really. Every new media, including social media, will have a version of Shakespeare. And so there is a sort of universal appeal there, but the interesting thing is that different cultures have different ways of adapting and appropriating Shakespeare. And so it's endlessly flexible and open to many different reinterpretations.
Yep. But what does Shakespeare really offer to us, to our young men today?
Well, I think, as I say,
who are getting far away from writing correct sentences. You know, if you
oh, I see. Well, Shakespeare famously couldn't spell, or at least invented a number of new words, neologisms, and spelt his own name differently when he signed his own name. So it's interesting because I think during the Elizabethan and Jacobean period, the language was in massive flux and transition, and probably comparable to today when again the language of the internet is meaning that language again is in complete flux and transition. So I think there's very similar types of periods in you'd know more about this than I would do in terms of their sort of linguistic indeterminacy, if you like.
As a matter of fact, I have worked on comparative linguistics, English and Arabic language, so,
yes, yeah.
So a bit of it was there. When you were appointed, somebody from the Board of Governors, I don't remember the name, but he was Matthew something, or he said that you are the person who will achieve the board's objectives, you see, and they had such great faith in your ability. Is it because you have been there, or it's a very good track record of yours as an academic?
Well, I hope, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, I'd been at UEL for a while by that time. I've had over 20 years in higher education by that time, and I'd had quite a lot of experience at a senior management level. So I think, and also the important thing for me is that the University of East London is a wonderful university. It's got fantastic students, fantastic staff, and masses of talent and potential. And so for me, I was proud and honoured to be offered the opportunity, even initially on a temporary basis, to lead the institution, and then for the last 2 years as the permanent post holder.
Right. What is University of East London's corporate plan?
Yes, okay, so all institutions of higher education have a corporate plan. And we've just, I mean, these go through several different sort of iterations over usually a 5-year period. And our 5-year plan for the next 5 years from 2015 to 2020 is to become London's leading university for civic engagement. And I could unpack civic engagement for you, perhaps I should. Civic engagement is about our students very much becoming active citizens and change agents in their communities. So they become the role models for their communities and for the students that follow them through the years. And we believe at UEL that it's very important for our students and our staff to get engaged with their community. We have students from over 120 different nationalities, including many, many Bangladeshi students and students of Bangladeshi origin as well. But it's very important for us that link, going back to what I said about us being the People's University, that we're an anchor institution really in our community, and we work in partnership with many local organisations on collaborative projects, some of them extracurricular, not part of the main curriculum, but it's important for our students to get involved in volunteering activity, to understand the needs of others and to contribute in a positive way back to their community. And as they're doing that, also to have a learning experience, because you learn a lot when you get involved in community-based projects, which some are around public health, some are around mental health, some are around antenatal health care. I mean, many, many different sorts of problems and challenges.
Who are your board of members of the Board of Governors?
So we have a large governing body. Mark Stevens is our chair of governors, and he, interestingly, did his law degree at what was North East London Polytechnic, and he now is a well-established media lawyer, so he's the chair of governors. And we have very many different...
does it include, the board includes the local people?
Yes, very much so. So Jeanette Arnold, who sits on the GLA, for example, is one of our governors. So it's a very diverse board which represents the local population. Yeah.
What sort of student population you have?
Yeah, okay, so we have 19,000 students. Not all of them are based in East London, many of them in partner institutions, but a large number of them are here with us in Stratford and Docklands. And as I said, we have probably one of the most diverse student populations of any university in the UK. 70% of our students are Black, Asian, minority ethnic students. 53% of our students are mature students. That's interesting in and of itself. And we have students from over 120 different nationalities. So it's very diverse, lots of mature students, lots of students. I would say the preponderance of our students are probably the first in their family to go to university. The interesting thing is, and this is less often remarked, they're often taught by staff who were the first in their family to go to university. So that makes for a very strong bond between staff and students.
Thank you, Professor John. Here we will have to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we will definitely talk more about the university and your good academic record.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Don't go away, we'll be back soon.